Interesting daf. Um, I have a couple of interesting things in tonight's daf. Some like basic shas klolim. All right. Um, yeah. So okay, let's see. So we're in the sugya of davar shalom b'lo'olam, meaning something that's can you be makna something that doesn't exist? Right? Can I sell my friend right now fruit that's going to grow on trees that's going to get ripe in a year from now, or whatever, 6 months from now? Am I allowed to sell him that or not? So we have machlokes. So the Gemara goes through a whole list. Samach beis and beis, we are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up on the bottom. Samach beis and beis. Yes, Amar Abaye, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Rabbi Meir, Kulu Svirulu Adam Makna Davar Shalom Eloim. They all hold that a person can be makna a davar shaloi bala. Right? Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Hadam, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, like we just said, right? Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov holds that you are allowed to, you're allowed to sell, you're allowed to take truma on fruits that are attached or the detached, even when you say that it's going to grow a third, right? So Mamela, that's davar shalom eloila. So we said Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov holds that that's okay. Rebbe Titania on Tamar Aleph now. An interesting case, like Saskir Eved ala Doinov. Literally means you shouldn't lock up an Eved to his master. Right? So what does this mean? Rebbe Yomer, meaning, okay, let's see. Rebbe Yomer B'lekeach Eved al Manas l'Shachrei HaKosim B'davar. We're talking about where he took an Eved, meaning a guy bought an Eved on a Tanai that he's going to free him. Right? So Rashi says that you're not allowed to, if you're going to do that, then you have to free him. Meaning he bought the Eved from a fellow on the condition he's going to free the Eved. That's what Rabbi says. Hey, what's the case? Going to Kosovle, he wrote to the Eved, how do you say this? Did I say that right? Did I miss any words, any letters? I got it. Okay, say that 10 times fast. Right? When I am going to take you, then you're right when I take you, you're going to be kind of yourself. Right? Which is davar shalom b'lo'olam. Meaning he didn't even buy the Eved yet. Right? And he's telling the Eved, when I buy you, I'm going to free you, which essentially is that he's being makna the Eved to himself. So he's being makna davar shalom b'lo'olam.
Isn't this more shver this case? Because here it's not going to happen until later.
Right.
No, what does it mean? Me'achshav.
What do you mean? You're going to be kind of. I mean,
when I'm kind of you, you're kind of to yourself. Me'achshav. Isn't me'achshav before you ever kind of? How's that possible?
Right. So, well,
The lashon me'achshav. How is it possible to be kind of for him to be kind of himself after you're kind of me'achshav from now?
Right. So yeah. So you see that long tosis. So you can enjoy it, Akiva. Right, but in there, you see, Tosus says he has to say me'achshav. I mean, no, it's mashmad. According to this sheet, he has to say me'achshav. So Tosus goes through the whole thing. Does it have to be me'achshav? Does it actually mean me'achshav? Okay, it's a little bit. I wouldn't say it's beyond the sugya because be'etzim it's part of the sugya because you're 100% right. Why is that? Why is the Gemara saying me'achshav? right? Okay, but whatever it is, so the guy, we essentially, you see that according to Rebbe, you're allowed to do this. He's allowed to buy a slave, and he gives the shtar to the slave, and he tells the slave, when I buy you, you're going free. Right? And that's the definition of the pasuk of Lesasker Rebbe Lodano. So you see that
Selling
he
works
also,
retroactively because it doesn't exist yet. He's not free now, so it's something that doesn't exist yet. But when he buys him and says retroactively you're a free person, that's the case of where you can have something that doesn't exist.
You could have things exist later on as well. Why does it have to? It's not possible for it to be retroactive if you never owned it retroactive. Even
It's
if you
not the,
buy them,
but
it's only
because that's
going
what
forward.
I think because that's what the Gemara is talking about. The Gemara is talking about is can you have something that doesn't can you have something that doesn't exist yet in the world? So right now this slave is not a free man. He will be a free man now in the future.
That's not how it works. You have to buy him and then he's free then.
No, that's not what he's saying though.
He's talking to the Evan. He's not talking to the person he's buying it from.
Exactly. That's the point.
So the person's going to sell it to him 10 days from now. You can only free him 10 days from now. During those 10 days, he's still the Evan of the other person.
That's correct. And that's the whole point of the Gemara is to say that right now you're not a free person. You don't, this doesn't exist. This slave as a free man doesn't exist. Retroactively, he will, but it doesn't exist yet. That's why you're allowed to do it.
There's no retroactive if everything happens later on.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, it's it. That's the long thesis. On it. I hear. Yeah. Anyways, fine. So that's that shake. Rameir the Tanya I'm Elisha. Right. This is from our Mishnah. I mean, it's not from our Mishnah because our Mishnah doesn't have Rameir, but I'm Elisha. Reyat Mekudeshes Li Lachashis guy. He says, I'm gonna marry you after I become a ger. Lachash Tiskairi after you become a gearis. Lachash Shtacher after I free you. Lachash Shtachari after you get freed. Lachash meaning the slave, the female slave. Lachash Yamas Balich after your husband dies. Lachash Thomas Achoseich or after your sister dies, right? Because a man cannot let him marry a sister when the original sister is alive. Lachash Yachlitzlach give him after you get chalitza. Ain't a mekudeshes, right? So that's our Mishnah. She's not mekudeshes. Why? Because these are all davar shalab beloilams. Remeir Aimer Mikudeshes, but Remeir and the Brisa disagrees, and he says that she is Mikudeshes because he holds Davar Shalab Eloilam. You can be kind, right? Okay, Rabbi Yochanan Nasandor Aimer ain't Mikudeshes. Rabbi Yochanan Nasandor said she's not Mikudeshes. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Aimer Mikudeshes. One second. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Aimer Mikudeshes. Matam Amru ain't Mikudeshes. Then why do we say that she's not Mikudeshes? Mishum Eva, because of Eva, meaning. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is saying that the reason why they didn't want to be matter in the last two cases is because they're going to cause animosity, right? Meaning he tells a lady that he tells his sister-in-law, I'm going to marry you when my wife dies. And he wants to do the kinyan right now. That is not going to lead to the warmest of relations in the family. Right? If the wife knows that when she dies, he's already being married to her sister, right? Or what was the other case? The sister, right?
Or a married woman. When
Right,
her
or after
husband
her
dies.
husband, then when her husband dies. Thank you. When her husband dies. So that's out Ava, but other than that, it would work. Okay. So you see, you have Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who also holds Davar Shalab Eloilam works. Okay, so I'm going to ask Nechshem Namar Yehuda Hanasi. So how come in the list, on the bottom of the previous Amud, it said a list of the Tanoim who hold that you could be kind of Davar Shalab Eloilam? How come Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is not on there?
It's even more.
What do you mean?
Because right now, the thing that they're talking about is something that right now is also. It's not like.
What do you mean? So it's more Ava?
I don't know about Ava. I don't know what Ava has to do with any of this. Just the fact
Ava,
that
no, Ava
they're
does.
something that's an is that they're saying something that's an issa could take effect even because it's davish lebalaylam. It's not that I'm going to buy you an ice cream tomorrow when you get off your diet. So good, I'll buy you an ice cream. I won't buy you an ice cream. This is something that right now is also. He's married to this woman. He's married to this woman. He can't marry her sister now. That's
Okay, you're right. You're saying it's a stronger thing.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Now, Ava, by the way, Ava is normally used when there's animosity from Goyim, but it doesn't mean the type of Ava means animosity. It can be, and it can fill into any types of animosity. Usually, the case that it comes up with is that we don't want to cause the Goyim to have animosity. Okay. Then the Gemara seems to ask a pashut thing. What do you want to say, Naftal?
These things that has to happen, are they Noyim? After you become a ger, after this.
Well, they can't if they never become a ger.
But I'm saying even if they become a ger, then they're married.
When they become a ger, yeah, because that was level up. Yeah.
Where's it tonight?
I mean, it's a Tanai Kofel. It has to be with a Tanai Kofel. If it's a Tanai, then it's a Tanai Kofel. Then it would have to be with the Tanai Kofel.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think here you have to do the Tanai. If you don't become a ger, then I'm not marrying you. Okay, Pashut, you're not marrying because it's not.
Okay. So
You're not even going to be Jewish.
So with night couple, when it's the second part of night is Pashut, then you don't need it.
I don't know. Could be.
I don't think this is a t'nai. It's not if, it's when. If would be a t'nai. When is not a t'nai. When you become a ger, I'm married to you.
That's a fair point.
It's not a t'nai.
Well, it's not making a try. No, that's true. I hear what you're saying. It's not a Tanai. He's saying when you do this. I mean,
So it's
ultimately,
like
it comes out that it's a Tanai.
Right.
Ultimately, it comes out that it is a Tanai because she.
No.
There you go.
Gershon, okay.
2 letters.
We'll argue about that later. Okay. It's now you have to become a ger.
It's not a Tanai. No, that's right. Gershon's right. It's not a Tanai.
Okay.
It's not a Tanai. It's like do you when this happens.
That's
The fact that something might not happen doesn't make something a t'nai.
Yeah, well, we're
It's not
going to
a
see in the next
condition.
Mishnah.
It's
We'll
not
see
the
what it is in the
lashon.
next
It's not the lashon of a tanai. It's not a lashon of a tanai. That's
Right, he's just saying. Right, he's saying when this. Yeah, fair enough. Fair point.
But Tziyach, also, there are certain things you don't need Tanai Kafel for. Taisa speaks about that earlier. That certain things are just implied.
Correct.
You know, when you
correct.
sell your field because you're going to Eretz Yisrael, it's implied. You don't need to actually have a Tanai Kafel, Taisa says.
Right. Well, that's if the guy has a knowledge of it. He has to have a knowledge of it. Yeah. Very good. So then, anyway, so Gemara says, why don't we count Rabbi Yehuda Nossi? So Gemara says a pashut shas teretz that you think that the Gemara should know. Hainu Rabbi Yehuda Nossi. Rabbi is Rabbi Yehuda Nossi. Right? Do we have any havamina what the Gemara means by this? What was the Gemara's thought? I mean, Rabbi is Rabbi Yehuda Nossi. Now there's Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, who was not Rabbi Yehuda Nossi. But Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, the same person. So what was the Gemara thinking? Right?
I thought the Gemara was asking, instead of bringing the raya from Rebbe from Lekeach Evadamonas Shachrei, bring it from this price. This
It's
is
more
much more
beferish.
This is easier to understand. It's more beferish. Why bring it from there?
All right. I don't know if that's the Pashup Shana that the Gemara is asking. Okay, I hear. Okay, so then the Gemara says, V'nechshav nami Rabbi Kiva. Why don't we also count Rabbi Kiva? The Tanya Kainam Shani Yosef Leficha. Right, so we know, going back to Nadarim, we know that a woman is meshubed to work for her husband, and the husband is meshubed to feed the wife. Right? Well, what happens if she makes a neder that she's not going to let her husband have her work? Right? So we say, Kainam Shani Yosef Leficha. I'm making a kainam. A kainam is the lashon of a neder that I'm going to do for your mouth. Ain't sarach lahafer. He does not need to be made for the neder, meaning it's like a neder against what she's mechuyev to do in the Torah. So therefore, he doesn't even have to be made hafaras when the husband negates his wife's neder. Kivaymer yafer, he does have to. Shematadif alav yesem in aroila. Maybe she's going to end up doing more work than she's mechuyev to give. Right? There are certain minimum amounts that a wife has to do for her husband. Maybe she's going to do a lot more, and she doesn't want that to go to her husband. So then the neder would work, Right. So what do you see from this? That we don't know yet. We don't know yet that she's good, that she earned more. We're saying on the possibility that you may earn more, therefore it's a nether. Right? So basically, she's making a nether on something that's loy b'lo'olam. We have no idea if she's making that money. So you see that Rebbe Kiva also holds davar shel b'lo'olam is okay.
And you know it's davar shel b'lo'olam. Why?
Well, she doesn't. She didn't earn the money yet.
She's on salary. She's
Right.
she's an attorney. Last year she made $2 million.
Yeah, but who says? What do they say in the ads? Past the financial aid.
So she signed a long-term contract. She's the first NFL quarterback lady.
Quarterback's coach. Quarterback's coach. Yeah, let's. You're right. So how does all these type of things work nowadays with salary? So I know how does it comes up with Hilchot Tzedakah, right? If you have enough to live, how does it go for 6 months or a year? I'm sorry, if you have enough to live for a year, you're not an ani, right? So, but what about nowadays where who has most people don't have what to live for a year, but they have salary. And if they're going to get fired, they're going to have severance. So maybe it's considered the davar shel b'lo'olam. I don't know. I don't know how he would take today's, financial climate and adjust it to this. But anyways, so it's certainly not earned yet. So he's saying davar shel b'lo'olam. So the Gemara says, the lady, what she said, she's a fruma. So she said, she's not making a neder on the work that she does. She's making her hands sort of into hektish, right? Right? She's saying, Yikachu yadai, saying, my hands are going to be kaddish to the one who made them, meaning to the Rabbanu Shalom. And those hands are right here. Meaning, so she's saying, what my hands create, right? My hands are becoming kaddish. So what my hands create, that's what I'm making a nether about. So that the hands are in this world. So there's no raya. There Rebbe Kiva holds davar shel b'lo'olam because the hands are something that's in the olam. All right, that's the end of the sugi of davar shel b'lo'olam. Now we start with continued with, well, we're going to see whether this next case is going to be considered a tanai or not. So I'm Isha, a guy tells a wife, I'm going to go, I have pull by the sultan, and I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to marry you on condition that I'm going to speak to him. It's interesting because
he's going to accomplish anything or just speak to him?
It sounds like just speak to him. All right. So what's your problem?
I don't understand the purpose of this.
Well, why is he making it?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just marry? I guess because she wasn't saying yes. He proposed. She said no. He said, okay, I'll go speak to the sultan for you. Okay. And then she says, okay, you got it.
That's what they call protection.
She owns a $15 million building. She can't get a C of O. So she's going to speak to the sultan about it.
Right. It's worth her getting married to this doofus. Right. Right. The guy who, it's about who right? So that's what he says. Or he says, I'm going to work for you like a regular worker. She needed a guy to fix her plumbing or something. So he says, I'll marry you and I'll fix your plumbing.
We have a shidduch crisis now.
Could be. Anyways, it's interesting because Rashi points out, I don't know why Rashi has to say that. Rashi points out is Pa'ulas Yoim Echad. For one day. I don't know, why does it have to be one day? Why can't it be more than one day? Right?
I think that wouldn't be kapayil. That would be a pile.
You think so?
Kapayil.
Okay, maybe. I hear. So anyways, so Dibar Aleh Sultan, if he speaks to the Sultan, Va'asa Ima, Kepoil, and he works for like a worker Mikudeshes, then she's married, Bim Lav. And if not, if he doesn't do it, then she's not married because he didn't keep his terms to the deal. Right? So basically, it's him telling her what he's going to do for her in order for her to marry him. Now the question is he giving money to her when this happens, and this is in addition to the money, or is this instead of the money? Right? Normally, you have to give something. Right? That's why a halva doesn't work. You can't be mekadosh nisha with a halva. He's not giving anything to her. So is that the same situation here, or is he giving her a ring and he's also saying?
Would the Tanai be considered Kaidum Maisa, or it's going to be simultaneous to the Maisa?
Well, so that's the question. Is this even going to be a Tanai? Is this a Tanai?
Almanas is Mashma Tanai, no?
Right. So that's the question. So let's see in the Gemara now. What's the story with this Almanas? So Amar Rish Lakish, talking about Amar Rish Lakish, Vusha Nasan Lashava Pruta. Rish Lakish answers it straight out. This marriage is not going to work. If a guy just says to a woman, Hareya Mikudeshes Li, then I'm going to go speak to the Sultan. He doesn't hand her a ring. Right? She hands him a phone, maybe. Call him, right? So then it's not going to work. Rish Lakish says no, he has to give her a ring, and then this is on top of that. So it says upeschar loy, and a man cannot marry a woman based on the schar that he will do for her. The guy says to a woman, marry me for the money that because you rode on my donkey. I'm sorry, that's a nekeva. Or that you sat on my wagon or on my boat. She's not married. Now this is in the past tense, meaning the guy gave her a ride. He's an Uber driver. He gives the lady a ride. He's looking in the river. He says, maybe I should marry her. And he says to her, instead of you paying me, right, I'm going to, you keep the money, and I want to marry you. So then she's not Mekudeshes. But these are hard words tonight. Right? But when he says to her in the schar that I will, meaning in the future, I'm going to give you a ride on my chamor, or I'm going to give you a ride on my wagon or my ship, Mikudeshes, then she is Mikudeshes. Right? So you see, in the future, it works. For the past, it doesn't work. But for the future, it does work. So and if you can say in these cases, the reason why it works is because he also gave her a shava pruta, meaning besides for giving her a free ride, he also gives her a shava pruta. It says in the brisa, he's doing it for the schar. That's one kasha. Now here the woman's talking to the man. A woman says to the man, sit with me, keep me company. And then I'll be married to you. Or laugh in front of me, or whatever, make jokes in front of me. Dance in front of me. Or make me something like this, maybe this type of building. So shaman, we evaluate if the work that he's going to do is worth a shava pruta, meaning if it would, let's say he's going to make jokes in front of her, so to hire a joker costs more than a nickel, let's say. So then mikudeshes, she's married to him, vimlav, and if it's not worth a shava pruta, any mikudeshes. So you see another brisa where a man can be married to a woman based on work that he's going to do for her, and he's not going to take money. Maybe this second price is also talking about where it's talking about he's giving her a shava pruta plus he's going to dance in front of her, or whatever the other ones. It says, we evaluate it. Right? If the guy is giving a shava pruta, there's no evaluation necessary. He just has to dance in front of her, laugh in front of her, keep her company, right? Whatever it is. So the Gemara says, "Piyufta de Rish Lakish." We slugged up Rish Lakish again. Rish Lakish was saying that in our Mishnah, the guy has to give a shava pruta, and here we clearly have two brises that say that a man can marry a woman without giving a shava pruta. So Rish Lakish will give you a teretz. It's a high tana bra this ton of the bra, that the second one or outside one, savar, meaning the brisa, not the Mishnah. Savar ain't a l'schirus el b'sai. Oh, so there's a. I should have said this before. There's a machlokes how it works when you rent out a worker. When you rent out a worker, is every shava pruta have to go to the worker, right? Even though he doesn't get paid till the end, but meaning, let's say a worker works for me for an hour, and every minute he does a shava pruta's worth of work. So after 45 minutes, do I owe him most of the money? Or do I not? Meaning, and it's a halva now. Meaning, again, I'm supposed to pay him after every bang of the hammer. Let's say each bang of the hammer is worth a shava pruta. So every time he bangs the hammer, another nickel, right? Now I didn't give him the money, so now it's as if he borrowed the money from me. Or do we say no? He is not. We're not mechuyev to pay the worker until his job is done. Once his job is done, then it goes. In which case, it's not a halva. Then it's not a halva, right? When the payment happens, it's not a loan, right? So we're gonna say here that the
Why
price.
don't you just say it's not a halva because it's just not practical? What are you gonna give the guy a dollar every 10 minutes? He's gonna stop working it. I mean.
Enochanami, the guy probably tell you if you do this, he's probably going to say, "Leave me alone. I can't do the job. You keep dropping nickels on my head every time I bang a hammer." Right. That's true. But the question is technically, how do we look at it? Because the truth is, right. So because I tell you nafkamina, if you say that it's yeshna l'schirus mitchila v'atzaif, and he does owe him a nickel, so let's say he quits halfway through, can he ask for half his money? According to both opinions, he cannot ask for half his money. So it's really semantics. He's got to finish the job in order to get paid. He's got to finish the job in order to get paid. That's the only question is technically, how does it break down? Does it end up being a loan, meaning you banged the hammer once, I owe you a nickel. Twice, 2 nickels, right? Now I owe you money. The money is yours. I borrowed it from you, meaning because I didn't pay you. So it's a halva.
So, Yaakov, you remember Morty Strauss really well?
I don't. Morty Strauss,
heavyset fellow. He was in the yeshiva. And he owned Moore Zone in Queens. He moved to Florida 5 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
So years ago, I asked him because before Pesach, he worked 20 hours a day. More, maybe more. So I said, Morty, how do you? And he was like totally ice mensch if you saw him a day or two for Yontif. I said, how do you do that? He says, because I stand in front of that big pot and I throw in the canadles and I say, $1, $1, $1, $1. That keeps me going.
Okay. I guess that is. Yeah, well, I guess he holds, he must hold that Yeshna Meschira Mitchil Vatsoif. Yeah, that's interesting. But anyways, that's the whole nafkamina here, whether it's a loan or not, right?
Is that the same thing as prorating? For instance, if he does 50% of the work, you pay him 50%?
No, because that's what we're saying. You don't have to. Unless he finishes the job, he doesn't get paid. Even according to opinion that says he gets paid, he really gets owed the money in increments. If he doesn't finish the job, he doesn't get paid.
That's not how it works in America.
I don't know how it works in America. I don't know how it works. Oh, I mean, it sure does.
Contract leaves in the middle of the job, he can take you to court. You have to pay him something. He'll end up winning.
He'll take some money. Yeah. I hear. Okay.
Or they might go ahead and say up front they want a certain amount, and then the rest they'll get at the end.
Right. I hear. Okay.
It's different. It's different. New Jersey is different from New York State. So it depends on where or how.
Okay, it depends how they go with it. Okay, but the Yiddishkeit, we're having a machlokes. That's no chiddush either, right? Yiddishkeit, we have a machlokes. Is the schirus from the beginning to the end, right? Or is it only at the end? So Amalek Rosh, Hi Tana Bra, the Tana of the Brisa who holds that the marriage is a good marriage. So let's say he's giving her a ride on he's an Uber driver, he's giving her a ride. Every mile, let's say I'm just saying a mushal, every mile the Uber driver's owed money, or no, when you get me to my location.
New York City cabs. No, every minute.
Every 10 seconds it goes up.
Right. I get it. That's a good point, Taka. Is it like Uber, maybe it's till the end. and the cabs is every mile or whatever, fifth of a mile, whatever it is. Right. Good. That's a good mashal. Right. So the brisa that holds it's a marriage. So the whole thing is to the end. So there's never a loan here. So at the end of the ride, the guy says to her, "Okay, pay me." And he says to her, "You know what? Forget payment. Just marry me." So that's right then and there. He's giving her something. Tana didan, but our Tana savar yeshnu l'schiras mitchila v'atzayv. No, there's schiras going from the beginning till the end, like the yellow cabs. So therefore, it was a loan, right? So therefore, that can't be because he's not actually giving her anything.
Well, Meister, once you finish, I never understood this about Yeshna. If you hold, it's Anis Chiras El B'Soif. At the end, she still owes you.
Yes, I know.
Why did it become Alva then? Meaning, like, how did you make it that it never turns into Alva? It turns into straight Messinas Mois at that point. Like, why is it any better than Yeshna El Chiras Mitzchila at Soif?
It seems like you're not letting it get to the loan part.
That's what I'm asking. So why can't I just?
How long? You mean what's the statute of limitations of how long after the work is done?
Or what we're saying is that there never is a Shava Pruta. Why can you say that the first Shava Pruta I worked for you could be Mekadosh to you, and even if you hold the Yeshna, I don't, or every less than Shava Pruta, I'm trying to understand the.
I'm with you. I don't understand it either. Meaning at the second, let's say using the taxi muscle. So let's say you're going at the end, like Uber. So the second the Uber driver pulls up to the house, you have to pull out your money and give it. Then there's no halva. What happens if you tell Uber driver, let me go inside my house and find some cash to give you cash, and now that's already a halva. That's what that's essentially what Akiva's asking. So I don't know exactly how the gather works, but either way, that's where Rish Lakish is answering up the stira between the Mishnah and the Brisa. So the Gemara says, "Umay dochke the Rish Lakish lukmin lasnisa b'yeshnu l'schiras matila atzai." So why did Rish Lakish have to say that the Mishnah is talking about that this schiras from the beginning to the end, ubediyavla, and it's talking about where the woman, the man had to give a shava pruta in order to make the marriage work? Why do you have to do that for? Right? Why can't he just say? Right? Just say that the Mishnah is talking about the same case of the Brisas, that they both hold Eina l'schiras Ela l'b'soif. Meaning Rish Lakish is I think what the Gemara is asking, Rish Lakish is going like this. He's saying, so I'm going to say that the Mishnah is talking about Yeshna l'schiras mitchila v'atzayv, and the Brisas are talking about Eina l'schiras Ela l'b'soif, and then I have to explain the Mishnah is talking about where he actually gave a shava pruta. So that's why it's a marriage. Why you do that for? Just say that they're both talking about Eina l'schiras Ela l'b'soif. Right? So my Rava Masnisa Kashezin goes, he had a kasha from the Mishnah. My iri the Tani al Manas. Why is the Mishnah saying on condition? Meaning, right, this was bothering Naphtali and Akiva, meaning he's telling her, I'm marrying you, and then he says, on condition that I'm going to speak to the Sultan. What do you mean on condition? You're marrying her anyways. Why are you making conditions? Right? Normally condition works the other way, right? That's what we've seen till now. I'm going to marry her on condition she does A, B, and C. Here he's saying, I'm marrying you on condition. What's the Lashon al Manas? Nisni b'schar. Why doesn't it just say, I'm going to marry you with the schar that it would cost you to get an appointment with the Sultan. I'm going to get that appointment for you, or I'm going to speak to him on your behalf, and I'm going to, instead of charging my fee, I'm going to marry you. Right? Why couldn't he say it that way? Elishmami no. Meaning, so why did it say the word almanas? Elishmami no. Kol almanas heichad yav lahu. So anytime it says the word almanas, that's talking about he has to have given her something also. Meaning, so when you say on condition, that has to, according to this, Rish Lakish is saying, when you're saying something on condition, you have to make sure that he also gives a ring too. Okay. Zok the Mishnah. Amanash Yirtza Abba. Right, so this is a real papa's boy. Is there such thing as a papa's boy? There's only a mama's boy. There is a papa's boy? Yeah? Okay, so he says he's marrying her, right?
And daddy's girl. Hey, daddy's girl.
He's a daddy's girl, but this is a daddy's boy. Right? So he says, Amanas Sheyirtza Abba. He says, he's got this whole romance. He says, will you marry me? He says, by the way, I had to make sure my father agrees. Right? So Amanas Sheyirtza Abba, Rotza Avs, and then if the father wants Mekudeshes, then they're married. V'im Lav, and if he doesn't want, Well, that's what we have to see.
Simple.
Sorry. Vim lav, ain't a mikudeshes, and if not, she's not mikudeshes. I mean, if the father doesn't want, she's not mikudeshes, because again, he told her that I'm marrying you on the tonight, and my father agrees. Yeah, I'm allergic to naftali after a few days of him not being here. Mesa Av, if the father
enjoying all those gesundheits.
There you go. Mesa Av, if the father dies, so I raise, and we got to pay attention because the Gemara, I hope, and the Gemara gets quite technical with this. Again, he says, I'm marrying you on condition my father says yes. So if the father says yes, good. If not, he's not. Mesa Av, but let's say the father dies, then Harezu Mikudeshes. She's Mikudeshes. Why?
The father wants his son to be married.
It doesn't say why. He says he didn't say yes, the father. Did he say yes? Did he not say yes?
He didn't say anything.
He died. Right. So the question is, what is dying? What is dying?
Let him get out of the cup.
That's the question. He says, "My father." Okay, is death considered like an agreement or a disagreement? All right.
The mitzvah in the Torah.
Okay, we'll see in the Gemara. Meis haben. Let's say the son dies. Now again, the son gave money to the girl. Says, "Marry me on condition my father." And then the son dies. Milamdina, without kids. Milamdina loimer she'ena right. So we teach the father. Say you don't want it, so now the girl will not need yibum or chalitza. Right? So those are the four little variations that are going here. So Gemara says, "My alma nasha yirtza abba." What does it mean on the condition that my father wants? Ile ma'ado amar abba in that my father has to actually say the word yes. So then ema mitziyah. So what about the middle case? Meis ha'av harei mikudeshes. If the father dies, she's mikudeshes. V'haloy amar in. He didn't say yes. Right? He's dead. He can't say yes. Meaning, does the son need to hear a confirmation from the father? If that's the case, then the middle case doesn't work because the father's not alive. So there's no confirmation. Ella, on top of base now, must be Amanasha Yishtoik Abba. On condition that my father's quiet. Meaning, if I come into my father with this girl and the father just looks and doesn't say a word. Right, like out of the movies or something. The guy has no idea what his father wants, doesn't want, right? So
that's usually not a good thing.
It's usually, right? But the bottom line is, if you learn that he has to say yes, so for sure it's not a good thing. So we're saying no, it can't be that. It's got to be. I guess this guy knows his father. He knows that if his father, if he doesn't say no, then he's already halfway home, right? So Amanasha Yishtoik Abba, on condition that his father is quiet, so then they're going to be married, right? Now, so Mamela, when the father dies, the father was quiet, unfortunately, but he was quiet, right?
Yeah.
So the question is also, quiet for how long?
Well, now forever.
I mean, let's say he says, if it's Amanasha Yishtoik Abba, so he comes in, he says to his father, hey, Dad, you like this girl? He's quiet for 3 seconds. Okay, we got it. 4 seconds after he says, I don't like her. Maybe those 3 seconds was enough to be quiet. So that Taisus goes on. What exactly? How long does the quiet last?
See, Yaakov.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't happen, never happened. But some of my friends whose parents went through the lager, went through the war, they never talked. Okay, they never talked. What they did to their spouse in the house privately, but the other people they never talked.
Really?
Yeah, really. Really.
Wow. Okay, so then, wow. Yeah, I hear. So then, l'chayra, I don't know how that would fit into this Mishnah. It's interesting. Having an interesting case. How does that fit into this Mishnah? Anyway, so that's what Taisus talks about, that it can't be that's forever. The guy has to be quiet forever. But anyways, so back in the Gemara, so aim is safe. If that's the case, that it means on condition that the father's quiet. So what about the Seifa? Meis haben. If the son dies, what do we do? So we teach the father to say he doesn't want. Why? He's
no, but shasik means it's good. They don't want it to be good.
What he doesn't have to. We have to teach him to say
no.
Don't. He doesn't have to. He just has to keep quiet.
Keeping quiet is good. Makes it a marriage.
No.
We just said that.
What?
We just said if he's quiet in this marriage.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mixed up with the other Gemara. He was already quiet. The father's already quiet. Means the marriage is a good marriage. Right?
That goes against Taisus. The time frame.
The question is how when the time frame was.
So you teach him right.
Bottom line was the guy was already quiet. So what's it going to help to tell him no if he was quiet?
See, I just remember
right away. Say no. If you tell me to say no, I'm going to say no right away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask questions.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I just remembered what Shlomo said once from one of the Volozhin is not Reb Chaim, but one of the other Volozhins. He never talked. So somebody said to him, Rebbe, how do you go? You never talk. He says sometimes I have the HR to say something, and I'm misgabe, and I don't talk weiter.
All right, I think I remember now that you say that. Yeah, I remember hearing that. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's probably a good thing to not talk. But okay, that's a different shmooze. So the little Tosis in the bracket says what Naftali is saying. Don't say that you teach the father before he heard about it. Right, maybe it means teach him before he heard about it. Right, before he heard that the father the whole story, just tell him. Okay, Tosis says that's not a shot. So okay, so what's going on here? So it can't be that it's just quiet. It's on condition that my father doesn't make a macha. Right? So, which means he can make a macha whenever he wants. Right? So if he gets upset at the daughter-in-law, he could say, okay, out. I don't want her. Right? Yeah. So then the Gemara says, if that's the case, so then Reisha b'chad taima u'mitziyasa v'seifa b'chad taima. The Reisha in the Mishnah is talking about one case, and the middle and the last case is talking about another case. Right? Right? Meaning meaning normally in the Mishnah it sounds like it's all one case. Whatever the Tanai was that he made with this girl, whether his father's going to be quiet, or whether his father has to say yes, or whether his father's going to make a macha or not going to make a macha, but it should be one standard case all the way through. And now we're saying that it's not. Right? So Amar Rav Yana, yes, that's true. The Mishnah is talking about different cases. Some are totally different cases, even though it doesn't say that. So here's another rule, a Shas rule, and the question is, do we keep this rule? So Amar Reish Lakish, Mami no lidu Rav Yanai. We hear from this according to Rav Yanai, Tachkinon umakminon masnisne betray tami. We would rather be doichik and say our Mishnah that's talking about two different reasons or two different cases. We'd rather the Mishnah fit in all according to one Tana. We would rather not talk about that the Mishnah is talking about two different Tanoim, but it's talking about the same case.
I gotta say, we're halfway through Shasim. It's the first time we're hearing this.
Correct.
We're coming up this way. Usually we come up with two Tanoim.
Right. So this is this.
I'm telling you, the other half of Shas, it says it 7 times, but okay.
We're just past the halfway point, right? So maybe it's all downhill. No,
that's not what I'm saying. That said this. I'm saying that usually we had two Tanoim in the Mishnah.
No, the question is when you're looking to say pshat in the Mishnah, what's better to do? Reish Lakish is saying from this Gemara, it's better to say that the Reish is talking about where he wanted his father to say yes or to be quiet, and the Seif is talking about where the father shouldn't make a macha, right? And then it all fits in. Why can't you just say it's two different Tanoim? Right? So that he's saying we'd rather not do that.
But Yaakov,
yeah,
the second case where the father makes a macha, it's mashma that the whole time he doesn't make a macha, it's a Safek Kiddushin. It's like a Kiddushin in limbo.
That's what it sounds like, correct.
So if somebody were to like be Mekadosh, it would just be like,
I don't know.
Could
it be forever? Could it be?
Unless the father dies. It's going to be suspended until the father dies or makes a macha.
Well, if you look at Rashi says that it can't be that we allow this father to make a macha forever. right?
Rashi says of a kol yimei chayav ein kedushin meisa ben. It's not a kedushin kol yimei chayav until he does something.
Correct, but then he says if he says almanas that there's going to be no macha, that the father's not going to be macha, then the father dies before he makes the macha. Then there's kedushin.
But if he doesn't die, then it's suspended. It's in limbo.
Correct. Yeah. Then that's what it sounds like. Yeah. It's a very difficult thing to understand. Right. So when you give this father the rights to make a macha on this whenever he wants, whatever it is, but that's so Rav Yanai, Rishokish is saying that Rav Yanai is saying it's better to put yourself through hoops in order to keep the Tana according to one opinion than to maybe say it's simpler and just say it's going to different opinions. Right? Okay. Rav Yosef Bar Ami Omar. Rav Yosef Bar Ami has a different shot. Lo ilam chad time. The whole mission is one time. Umay alma nasha yirtza. What does it mean? What's the one reason that's going through the whole Mishnah? What does it mean on condition that the father wants? Almanas shelo yimacha abba mikan vat shloishim yoyim. Right? He fixes the whole issue. Meaning, till now we're saying that the issue is that the father can. One of the issues is that the father can make machaz at any time he wants, and then that's it. The marriage is done. So we're saying no. He has up to 30 days. He has 30 days to say that he doesn't want this marriage. All right. So the father can only nix the Kiddushin for the first 30 days. Right? So again, if the father's maskim, she's married. Right? If the father's not maskim, then she's not married because he makes the macha. Well, let's say the father dies, then he's obviously not making the macha within 30 days. So then they're going to be married. And if the son dies, then we're going to tell the father, right, make a macha. Right, like this, they're not married, and then the daughter-in-law doesn't have to have yibum or chalitza. Then they live happily ever after. Right?
Well, she doesn't need a get.
She
doesn't need a get either. There's no
marriage. She won't need a get either. Correct.
Yeah, that's to be the bigger chiddush, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next case. Now we get into the whole. Let's try not to get into that whole thing where the guy married off his daughter. I remember that case. Right. Dr. Zakarowitz is one of his favorite cases where the guy was having divorce issues, and he wanted to make everybody meshuga. He wanted to make his wife meshuga, so he said that he married his daughter off to a guy, and he's not telling anybody who the guy is. Right, that was his negotiation tactic in order to whatever it was that he was trying to do.
I told him my brother Shvag Shalom was a lawyer at the time.
Yeah, right.
When he died, he was a lawyer.
Yeah, so that's what this jerk did, right? So this is all. I guess he must have learned Kiddushin, and he figured he can do this thing. Because in this next Mishnah, guy says, "Kiddashti is biti. I married off my daughter. Ve'eni yedei lamim kiddashti." Now, the Mishnah doesn't sound like he's doing it on purpose. He just forgot who he. He said, my daughter asked me to marry her off, so I went to his shul, and I said, I met a nice fellow, and I told him I took some money from him, and I have no recollection which fellow it was. Right. And then one guy comes along and he says, I'm the one that married her. So is he believed? Neman, he's believed. The Gemara is going to discuss exactly how strong belief he is. From this Mishnah on, for the next few blocks, it's going to be discussions about Nemanus. Who's believed, when they believed, how they believed, Eidechot, all these type of things. Right? So anyway, so again, the father
considered Davar Sheba.
Well, that's part of the issue. Is it a davar shebe'erva or not?
Meaning, whatever the father created, the issue the father created, is that a davar shebe'erva?
L'chayra, right?
If it's a davar shebe'erva, so then l'chayra would be. So then, how could you have eid echad? That's, I guess, it's
right. So it's not. So it's not really eid echad. Well, let's see the Gemara. Again. So he says, I married my daughter off. I have no idea who it was, and a guy comes along and says it was me. He's believed. If one guy says I'm the one that married her, now you have two guys saying that they're the ones that married. So now you got a problem. So Shneim knows get. They can both give a get. What's it going to accomplish? Ali should be able to get married to somebody else. And if they want, echad nice and get, ve'echad kindness. One of them can give a get, and one can actually marry her. All right, so that's the Mishnah. So Amar Amar Rav, I'm sorry. Neman liten get, neman lichnois. When it says that this guy's believed, he's not believed that he can marry her. He's believed halfway. He's believed that he was the one that married her. We're going to make him divorce her, and now she can go get married to anybody else. Right? Meaning we don't believe him that enough to let him live with this woman. No. We believe him enough that maybe he was the one that married her, and now he divorces her. Now she's available to marry anybody else. Right?
So the end of the Mishnah of Echad nice and get, Echad kind of see, just cancel that?
What?
We just canceled the last line of the Mishnah?
So that's we're going to see. That's what I was going to ask. Yeah? Ein adam chaytu. Now, what's a pshat in this? Ein adam chaytu b'loy loy. A person's not going to do a chet if he's not going to benefit from it. Right? So therefore, we'll believe him that he's the one that married her, and we'll believe it so that somebody else can marry her, because we're not going to say that he's going to do a chet and he's not going to benefit. Meaning, what gain is there for him to say that he married her and then he has to give her a get? He's not gaining anything from that. Right? So must be he's being truthful. But ein neman lichnois, and we say he's not allowed, he's not believed to actually marry her because ema yitzrei toikvai, maybe his Yetzer Hara got him, and he says, "Oh, this is an easy way. This guy's looking to find out who married his daughter. I might as well jump in here, and I got myself a shidduch. Easy, right?" So that's Shitas Rav. Ravasi and Af Neman Lichnos. He says, no, he's even believed to marry her. Right? Why? So Rashi says the person's not going to have chutzpah. I mean, you have to have guts, because you can go over to the guy, to the girl's father, and say, "I'm the one," and the guy's going to say, the father might say, "You're 5 feet tall," and the guy that I married off to is 6.5 feet tall. He's like, "Oh," right? So nobody's gonna have the chutzpah to do that to the father. And this guy has that chutzpah, must be he's believed. Okay, exactly how that works, but I don't know klar, but that's the way Rashi is saying it. So again, the Ravasi is saying that he is believed to marry her. But Maidu Ravasi by Meres Niskadashti. Now here's where it gets technical. It's not hard, but just technical. If she says she got married to a guy, but I have no idea who I married, and somebody comes along and says he marries her, there Ravasi says he's not believed. Why? Because he's not going to be so intimidated by the girl. He would be intimidated by the father. He's not going to be intimidated by the girl. Meaning the girl's going to be so desperate to get married, she'll say, "Oh, yeah, Taka, that's him," even though she has no idea whether it's him or not. Okay, so then the Gemara Mishnah asks, Tanan, Ratzu, Echad, nice and get, Echad, kindness. Right, Naftali's kasha, they just asked. It says, if they both, meaning when the father doesn't know who he married his daughter off to, two guys step forward and say they're the ones. So if they want, one could give a get, one can marry her. So you see that he is believed to marry her. Tiyufta the Rav, it's a kasha on Rav. Amalach Rav, Shani Hosam, the Kivan, the Ika, Echad Bahadeh, since there's Acher Bahadeh, since there's somebody else there with him, right? Irsuse Mirsas, he's scared. Meaning there's two guys saying yes. This guy, because he knows there's another guy, maybe how does he say, "Oh, I might get nailed." The father might say, no, it's the other guy. All right. So therefore, if he's still insisting on it, then he is going to be married. Fine. So Tani covers the Ravasi. We have a brayso like Ravasi. Kidashi is biti. The guy says, "I married my daughter. And I have no idea. Who I married her off to." And one guy comes and says, "I'm the one that mekadesh her." He's also believed to marry her. So you see that he is believed. He's believed to marry her, right? Let's say he marries her. Somebody else comes and says, "I married her." Like he doesn't have the strength, I guess, to asa the woman on the first guy. Again, here we're talking about where one guy comes and says, "I married her." So he believed and they can get married. Comes along another guy after this happened and says, "I'm the one," so then we don't trust him. right? Because we can't trust him to knock somebody else's marriage out, right? So meaning that when a guy walks over to a woman in the street and says, hey, that's not your husband. I married you first. So we just blow him off. All right. Fine. So Isha Sha'amrin Niskadashti. If a woman says though that I got married, any of das Lamin Niskadashi, I have no idea who I married. One guy comes along and says I married her. Ain't neman lichnois. They're not believed because she is going to be she's going to cover for him. Right? Meaning, since she wants to marry him, she's going to say, oh yeah, this is the guy I married. Right? Okay, so again, it's very technical over who's the one that's not sure. Is it the daughter? Is it the father? Didn't we
have a case in Ksuvis where somebody got married but they didn't know who, and now they're usher to everybody in the world now because you don't know if they're related to anybody else.
Right. What was that case?
Where a guy got married, but he doesn't know who he got married to. So therefore he can never marry another woman because unless she was an only child, then he'd be marrying, possible he's marrying this woman's sister.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So this could be a similar case, meaning like the father married her off to somebody, but how could she marry somebody else? Maybe it's this guy's brother.
Oh, so l'chayra, you're right. If nobody steps forward, they have a problem. Right, but here somebody stepped forward. Well, what did we say over there in the Gemara on Ksubis? That was it Yavamis or both? What happens if one woman steps forward? There was a toisis about it. I think there was a toisis about it. And even if there wasn't a toisis about it, sounds good that I'm saying that there was a toisis about it. I thought there was a toisis that discusses what happens if there's one. I don't know. That's a good point you bring, Avi. It's a good point. Yeah, okay, I'll try and rack my brain on it. Okay, it's late, so let's just see a little bit weiter. So it's very nice that we're saying that okay, we're going to allow her to marry this guy according to Ravasi, or we're going to allow this guy to divorce her so that she could marry somebody else. Great, even though, like Avi's saying, really we have no idea. We have no idea whether this lady can write this race should be really also to everybody. So we're going to trust. But let's say then she goes and she's Mazana. There's this guy said that he married her. Is that strong enough that now she's going to get skila if she's Mazana? So Rav Amar ain't cycling. Rav says we don't give her skila. Rav Asi Amar cycling. Rav Asi says we are going to give skila. Rav Amar ain't cycling. Ki amina Rachmana lahav li surah. When did the Torah believe the father? That's for Isurim, right? To answer on the whole world, or to not answer on the whole world. The Katal Eloyamina, but to give her Misa, that much we don't believe the father, right? Ravasi Amar Cyclin, the Kula Mils Cyclin, we give Skila, the Kula Mils Rahman Allah. The Torah matters it for everything, meaning I'll trust the father for everything. All right. Again, it gets very technical. When do you trust somebody? When do you not? Meaning, do you either you're all in or you're all out? But the Gemara is clearly not saying that. People have nemanus, but in limited form. Right. So Amar Ravasi, Umaydina by Meres Neskadashi ain't cycling. Ravasi says, Amaida, where she says that she's married, that's not enough to give her skila. Meaning, if she's maida, she married this guy, then she goes in Mazana, then she won't get skila. V'amar Ravasi, Hatni Shmaitza Didi, Merafsan Igri, my Shmaitza, it like shakes the roof. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. In a situation where if a guy comes and wants to marry her, he says, I'm the one that got married, that's marrying her, that married her. Amrit cycling, we say you give skila. Makam shim bal lichnos ain kindness. In a case where she's the one that married herself off and she has no idea who she married her off to, which we say that the guy is not believed, ain a din shacycling, so shouldn't go along with it, that there should be skila, right? Meaning she said that she got married to somebody. So therefore, and now she went and she's Mazana. So shouldn't we give her skila? And we're saying that we don't. No, the Torah trusted the father, the Torah did not trust the daughter. Fine. And both the father and the daughter don't have the strength to give skila. Let's say the kid's mezanas. We have no idea how old he is. So if he's 9 years old, then the person he's mezana with will be chayiv misa if he's 9 years old. If the daughter is 3 years old, then the person that's mezana is also going to be. So neman lekarbon, they're believed to be mechayiv a carbon, but not for makas and not for einshin. So you see that there's only a certain amount of nemanas. For it's a limited nemanas. Tanya Chavseder Achista Benize Ben Gimel Yud Gimel Shana V'Yamechad. If a guy father says my son is 13 years old and therefore he's liable. Biti Zu Bas Yimel Yud Beis Shana V'Yamechad. My daughter is 12 years old and she's liable. So the question is, does the father believe now or not? So Antamad Aleph Neman LeNedarim LeCharamim. He's believed for Nedarim and Charamim. Right, meaning if the kid said Nedarim or Charamim and didn't keep to them, Ula Akdashos, or he made something hektish, Ula Erchim, and that's Erchim is to also donate to the Beis HaMikdash. So in all of them, the fathers believed by Isurim to say that the kid's liable. Avaloy Makas al Einshim, but if the kid was chayiv something that requires Makas or Einshim, then the father, that for the father is not believed. So the fathers only believe when it comes to Isurim, not for punishments. So that's what Chisda is saying, that the father is not believed for skila, and she's not, neither one of them, not her and not her father, are believed for any of these things. All right, call it a night. Everybody should have themselves a fine night. Should hear Basuras Tovus. Have a good one. Yeah.
And how does this square with Davar Shaver? I mean, we sort of skirted around that issue.
Ain't Davar Shaver? Well, it's part of it is here. No?
The Gemara says, according to Ravasi, that the father's Neman, even though Ain't Davar Shaver Pachim Mishnayim, the father's Neman to give her skila. She only gets skila if we believe him completely, even mitzad din erva.
Right.
So how does Ravasi square that with Davar Shaver? Seems like the Torah made a special exception, even though normally Ain't Davar Shaver Pachim Mishnayim. For a father, one person is enough to be believed.
Right.
So how do the two ideas square?
I hear. I'm not sure. I thought maybe we could fit this into Ein Davar Shaver Pachim Mishnayim, but you're right.
According to Rav and Rav Chizda, yeah, Nechanami. It's Isser. I mean, you're only creating Isser on her. So the Torah has, it's carved out in the Torah. You can create Isser without creating too much, but I don't know.
Right, I hear.
It's Yaakov. How do you ever know if somebody's laning, if they're taka for mitzad din of, let's say, any deraisa that you need to hear laning on a deraisa, let's say zecher mechias amalek, let's say.
Yeah.
How do you ever establish anyone to be of a certain age?
That's a Taisus. I think it's Taisus here. No, Taisus. The bottom Taisus discusses it. Right? How do you know anything? How do you know anybody at Shtei Saris?
Right.
Yeah.
So Taisus says you have to be a certain age.
Correct.
So if somebody's not a certain age, bar mitzvah bachman l'chayr, or even like teenagers should not be landing mechias amalek.
Yeah. So anything you ever have that with the sure?
I'm just curious. That's what we're coming out with. You've got a middle-aged individual doing it, basically. Any deraisa, anything that requires anything that requires any laning l'chayr should not be done with a bar mitzvah bachman.
Well, normally we're not makbid to the rabbanon.
But on a deraisa, I'm saying you're saying on a deraisa, you shouldn't.
Wait, the mitzvah is laning, or the mitzvah is zechira?
Well, then some people get into, can you give the kid the aliyah for Amalek even? A lot of poskim don't like that either.
Interesting.
What's the mitzvah?
Mechias Amalek. Schiras Mechias Amalek.
Right. So what does laning have to do with anything? If a cotton read that I'm Zeicher,
What?
if a cotton read it, I'm still Zeicher. I have the Zechira.
No, but the Schira is not coming from somebody who's chayiv in it.
The Zechira is in me, not from the Shmiyah.
So what? So you were saying you could play a tape recorder of the Schira on Shabbos?
Why not?
Go ahead.
Similar to a shofar, you can use.
One
the
second. So
digital
why do we
one.
care about Zecher and Zachar?
Yeah,
what do we care about the pronunciation either? You still remember the Malik.
That has nothing to do with Zechira Amalek. That's what's the word. The Deinhold is no word Zecher. It doesn't exist. So you're not doing Kriyas Atayr. It's not because it's Amalek.
They don't do it. By the way, that's not true, Gershon, because in the Shabbos that we actually lane it, we don't lane both. Nobody's makbet to lane both. According to you, they should be laning both. Stop on that Shabbos.
Yeah, the ones who are makbet on the guy just lane Zecher. The ones who are not just say Zecher.
I'm just saying, nobody. They're only makbet on the Shabbos of Mechias Amalek.
Yeah, kasha for myself.
No, I disagree. It's not considered Mechias Amalek if you didn't lane it.
Okay, and then I don't know what Zechira.
Oh, then all I have to do is tell.
What is
I'm
Zechira?
saying it has to. The Gershon has to fit the parameters.
I can't. Trey Cully.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm asking. I mean, bring your dryers against my position. I don't have a position. I'm asking. As far as I know, Zechira means to remember, not to lay.
I don't have a position either. It's great.
What does Zechira mean? Lane Parshas Zechira Amalek.
What?
Zechira means the word Zechira means lane Parshas Zechira Amalek. I mean that's cyclical.
Okay.
There's no Zechira.
Okay, I hear. I don't know. I mean, again, you're saying if you want to take it to the extent with the tape recorder, then yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't understand why not. I don't know what the mitzvah is. The mitzvah is the lane. That's not a
clearly
mitzvah.
That's the way it's been adopted.
Someone who says Sheish Schiras every day, he needs Parshas Zachar.
Face nicht. All right, I got people here. I'm getting back up.
He's not talking about me.
I'm not talking about Naftali.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
No, you weren't people. You're a person.
Yeah. All right. Gershon, it's good to